Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm out in the shed today to install some wheel spacers on the back of my Kubota BX. Over here you guys can see the spacers that I got. I paid about $54 for these spacers. I got them off eBay. The part number here is 115379. I'll also be putting a link to these in the description. These are 2-inch wheel spacers and they'll fit right on the back of the Kubota BX. These are originally for a Jeep XJ, KJ, any of those series Jeeps. They work just fine on the Kubota BX. There's plenty of guys using these on forums, and they've had no issues. I've been debating on getting a set of these wheel spacers for a long time now. I wasn't quite sure what size I wanted to go with. It was either between an 1.5 inch wheel spacer or a 2-inch. I didn't really want to go any larger than 2-inch, and I was afraid that if I went anything under an 1.5 inch, that I really wasn't going to notice a difference. So I'm hoping it's going to do what I want it to do for me. Pretty much I want some more stability out of this tractor. I don't really have too much problems. I mean, I do have my rear tires filled. I have plenty of weight in the back. I got about 200 pounds of suitcase weights. I rarely have any problems with me feeling like tippy on a hill, but any more stability that you can add to a machine like this is a good thing. And also, I did want to get my rear tires out a little bit farther. The front tire actually hangs over slightly farther than the back tire, and I think that's where some of the stability issues come from with the Kubota BX. So I wanted to get the back tires wider than the fronts, so I'm thinking that these 2-inch spacers should do it. And one of the reasons I was debating the 1.5 inch spacers is because I really didn't want to stick the rear tires out any farther than I had to. I just wanted them to stand out a little bit farther than the front tires. So hopefully these 2-inch spacers don't make them stick out too far and make it look goofy, because otherwise I'll probably be tempted to put 1-inch spacers on the front to kind of level it back out. But we'll see. I'll throw them on the rear and we'll go from there. For anybody worried about warranty, I'm assuming this is going to void your warranty, but I'm not totally sure. A great guy to talk to with that would be Neil Messick, or call your local Kubota dealer. As far as will it put extra load on your axle, in my opinion, it definitely will. The farther you got that rear tire out from the axle, the more leverage it's got to push back on that axle bearing. I would say try to stick between 1.5 inches and 2 inches. Any farther than that, and I feel like you're kind of pushing it, but as of right now, I don't think I've heard of anybody destroying their rear axle with a wheel spacer. So I'll be the guinea pig for that. You guys know I work this tractor hard, so I feel like if anybody's going to break these things, it's probably going to be me. So I'm going to get these things on here. I don't want to make this video too long. I'm going to jack up the rear end. We'll get the lug nuts busted loose. Some of the things you're going to need, I would grab yourself a 1/2 inch impact gun or a breaker bar. This is my breaker bar. It's actually an old torque wrench that broke. It's a Craftsman, so I use it as a breaker bar now. You're going to want a 3/4 socket, and you're also going to want a 13/16 socket. The lug nuts on the rim of the tractor, those are going to be 13/16, and the lug nuts that come on your wheel spacer, those are going to be 3/4. You got to be careful with some of these impact sockets, as they're a lot thicker than the chrome ones. So if you'll see, this is the 13/16 end, and as you guys can see, it does not quite fit in the hole here. So what you're going to have to do is use like a 13/16 chrome socket, but you can see that goes right in there nicely. Get yourself a couple extensions and some ratchets, and you should be all set. So I'm going to jack this up, and I'll get right back with you guys. See where I'm jacking it up here? You're going to want to go right underneath your trailer hitch. That way it's nice and stable, and you can lift up both rear tires at the same time. Okay, so you don't need to get the tractor super high off the ground. You can see I just got it so that the wheels are off the ground, maybe an inch or two, because if you got fluid in your tires like I do, it's a bear to get these things back on the studs. So I try not to lift the tractor any higher than I need to. It's always a great idea to get a couple jack stands and throw one under each side of the axle. That way if the jack ever fails, it's not going to fall on you. All right, so we're over at the right side of the tractor. I'm going to go ahead and zip these lug nuts off and get this tire pulled out of the way. So one thing I've actually seen people ask on Facebook groups is, you know, how come these tractors are made with 2 studs on the hub? One guy was actually asking if his hub was messed up because he had seen only 2 studs on there and the rest were bolts, so he thought maybe somebody had tampered with it. Kubota does this so that you can actually get the rim back up on there, because they know a lot of these guys are going to be filling these tires, and once you fill them, it makes them extremely heavy. So if you don't have any studs to hang the rim on, it's extremely hard to try to hold the tire exactly where it needs to be and get your lug nut started again. So this is why Kubota gives you a couple studs on the hub to help you with getting the rim back up onto the hub. All right, so now that we got that all out of the way, go ahead and take my wheel spacer, and this thing should slide right on here. As you guys can see here, it's a perfect fit. So I'm going to go ahead and get the original lug nuts and lug bolts and thread them into here to hold the hub back on. Okay, so now I got you guys a little bit closer to the hub. What I'm going to do is start with my lug nuts first, because we got 2 lug nuts and 3 bolts. I'm going to drop my lug nut into the socket here. I'm using a shallow so it doesn't fall all the way into the socket. Okay, so there's 2. Now we just got our 3 lug bolts left. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in the socket. All right, so now we got them all snugged up. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my impact gun and tighten these up the rest of the way. Now when you tighten these down, you just wanna make sure you go in a star pattern. Okay, we should be all set to get the rim back on the tractor. Get these lug nuts off real quick. Okay, now comes the fun part. Get this thing lifted back up onto here. So what I usually do is try to get this rim line back up, and what I'll do is I'll drop the jack, and that way I only have to lift this tire just a little bit, and it definitely saves your back. As you guys can see here, I'm only about an inch or so off, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop the jack down about an inch and see if we can get this thing lined back up. I don't know how well you guys can see that there, but I got it just about perfect. I'm gonna go up just a touch with the jack, and I should be able to slide this rim right on. There we go. Now we can go ahead and put on our 5 lug nuts that came with the wheel spacer. Now I can go ahead and tighten them up. So now I'm using my 3/4 socket. Just gonna snug them up in a star pattern. Once you got them all snug, go ahead and crank them down. Okay, I'm gonna stand you guys up, see what this side looks like, and then I'll get going on the other side here. Oh yeah, that's already a much better look. I like that a lot better. Get this light out of the way so you guys can see how much better that looks. It should give a lot more stability. And as far as it sticking out further than the front tire, I definitely think we've accomplished that, because it's definitely sticking out past it, but not by a lot. I would say it's probably sticking out past the front tire maybe an inch, give or take, roughly. Which is exactly what I wanted. I think this is gonna work perfect, and I think it's gonna look perfect. So let's get going on the other side, and I'll give you guys a good look at it when it's all done. One quick thing to take note that I didn't mention on the other side is make sure this hub is nice and clean, free of rust. Because if you have any rust buildup on this hub, your wheel spacer is not going to sit totally flush, and you could have some run out, and then that can definitely cause some bearing wear. It could also cause your tires to chop and all kinds of other issues. So when you go to mount this on, just make sure the face of your hub is nice and clean. You definitely want to make sure you got a clean hub. All right, guys, well, that's all she wrote. It does look a lot better, man. I'm super happy. Gives the entire tractor a better stance. It is tough to tell on camera, but in person, I could tell a huge difference. It doesn't look disproportionate, which was one thing that I was really worried about. I was worried about the front looking kind of disproportionate from the rear because the back tires stick out too far, but that's not the case with the 2-inch spacers. And that was my biggest headache with trying to figure out which ones I wanted to order. Like I said, I went back and forth between 1.5 inch and the 2-inch ones for a long time, and trying to find pictures online. Watching videos, and just nobody really shows what it looks like at the end. People got videos installing the spacers, and then at the end they show you a few photos. They don't really give you a 360-degree angle around the tractor, which is what I'm going to give you guys, because I want to help anybody out that's looking to do the same mod that I just did, so they could actually see what it's going to look like. So one thing to take note, if you guys have a torque wrench, it would be wise to probably torque these down. The torque is 95 foot-pounds, I believe. So just do a cross pattern. Once you get the tires back down on the ground, just get the jack low enough so that the tires just touch the ground, and go ahead and torque them in a star pattern, 95 foot-pounds, and you guys should be all set. I should be all set here. I'm gonna get this tractor pulled out of here and give you guys a closer look outside in the sunlight, and that should be it. One thing that I'm going to be doing pretty soon here is I'm going to be rebuilding the front end of the tractor. So if you guys like these kind of videos, stay tuned for that. I know both my outer tie rods are smoked. I'll probably replace the inner tie rods as well down here. I also have bad steering brackets. So there's a steering bracket that's down in here. That is bad. And it's worn out and it's slopping around, so it's making the steering cylinder bang back and forth. You know, this tractor gets worked pretty hard. So I'm going to replace that along with the tie rod ends and just go through the entire front end and make sure everything's up to par before the spring comes along, because I want to make sure that this thing is in tip-top shape so that when my side jobs start again in the spring, I don't have to worry about loose front end parts. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, we'll see you guys in the next one.